And welcome back into Studio B. We appreciate you downloading us up on your app, however you are, whether you're streaming or not. I'm joined by a guest who has not one name but two names, and he's got a really good nickname. Did you come up with Dr. Deep Sea yourself?
No.
It is Dr. Joe Dituri, of course. We know him as Dr. Deep Sea. Who came up with a name then?
So Brian O'Connell, my lifelong friend, in the Navy, when you're a deep diver, they call you Deep Sea. It's like a term of endearment, like, hey,
Right.
Deep Sea, what's going on? What's going on, Deep Sea? And then he said, oh, now you're Dr. Deep Sea. And I went, uh-oh, it stuck. Here we go.
It does work, though.
Thank you.
It does work. For those of you who are unfamiliar with his work, we are just, 2 years?
2 years.
Post, you're literally walking up the steps
Yep.
from the Jules Undersea Lodge. That must have been some experience for you.
It was wonderful. It was enlightening. It was interesting in so many ways.
Yeah. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that. You spent 100 days underwater, some fascinating discovery and some research. But let's back up a second, and I'm curious because we've got some video of you diving. Now, this has been a big part of your life for a long time, starting in the Navy, right? Or were you diving before that?
Starting before the Navy, my father had a propeller on his boat that was too big to take out of the water, and he says, "Hey, hold your breath, go down there and try to take this off." And he gave me tools and stuff, and I'm like, "Dad, I can't hold my breath that long." And he goes, "Hold on a second." Goes and gets a double hose regulator and a tank and puts it over, no buoyancy compensator, nothing. We're talking, 70s, and puts it over, and he goes, "Okay, oh, wait, don't hold your breath." So that was the entirety of my scuba diving lesson. I went underwater and I'm like fixing the thing, whatever it was. And I was like, I love this. This is amazing.
That is so cool. And
I was
how
like,
old were you?
10, 9.
That is amazing. So at that point, you pretty much knew that.
I was like, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. When do you think your time? And you were in the Navy, what?
28 years.
28 years.
Yeah.
Navy commander, of course. Thank you for your service. Goes
Thank
without
you.
saying. You must have some incredible memories there too.
I do. It's really a great place to be from. The military is one of those things that when you look back, it really molds you. And one of the really cool things that happened while I was underwater is my halfway day. So I had spent 27 years, 8 months, and 19 days in the Navy. And on that day, while I was underwater, I had spent 27 years, 8 months, 19 days out. So before and after that, I was past the halfway day. But you live half your life in the military and you wonder why you're so, compulsive, why you're so like, this has to be this way. It's hard to live with.
That's how you know you're doing the right thing, though, when things like that happen.
I believe that.
Yeah. When was that point? Because we have so much to talk about. We're going to talk about your underwater lab. You can roll some of that video too. We have some of that. When was that point when you realized, when you were in the Navy, when you were going beyond following up on your tasks and you're beyond really enjoying yourselves and enjoying your service to your country, that you realized you could be doing some incredible research here because things are really different underwater?
Oh, wow. So I was an enlisted guy and I worked at a place called Submarine Medical Research Laboratory. And, the smartest people in the world came there, like the doctors that just were MDs and PhDs that came into the military just to do research. I happened to be surrounded by them, and I'm like, wait, what? You want to do what? Hold on, we're going to pull the string and find out what the blood does. I'm like, that sounds so cool. So even before I became an officer, I was introduced to all these great people doing all this cool research, and our forefathers, right? Like C-Lab 1, C-Lab 2, C-Lab 3, right. Conshelf, all that stuff was really molded me.
That is amazing. And that's where you were while you were still in the Navy, of course.
While I was still in the Navy, yeah. It's about 10 years into the Navy, 8, 9 years in the Navy.
It's so fascinating. And so when you were, we've had a couple of stories on air. We can talk a little bit about my visit as well. Thank you for welcoming me down there. That was a great experience.
The only one brave enough to come.
And I appreciate that. But we learned what telomeres were.
Yep.
And you basically turned back the clock underwater, didn't you?
I did. So we did telomere testing. We did all kinds of testing while I was down there. And it turns out that my telomeres were about 17% longer from the time that I was underwater, which was great. Telomeres are those little things on the end of the chromosome, and they kind of are what you use to replicate your DNA. So if they're longer, you can lengthen them by going in hyperbaric medicine. And if they're longer, you can replicate that cell more, which kind of sort of means you can live longer.
And what do you think has happened since then?
No, I've used several of them on the replication process, but once you get them, they don't go away unless you do something like expose yourself to ionizing radiation or things that will actually shrink them.
So we all need to be underwater for 100 days at least.
Maybe just go in hyperbaric medicine.
Well, and that's what you're doing, of course, now,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So all the research points to between a 30 to 36%, depends on whose paper you read, increase in telomere length by doing several, about 60 hyperbaric sessions.
Now, this is somebody who didn't pay attention in science class or health class, so I'm going to ask the dumb questions.
No, go ahead.
But correlate to me underwater pressure with the hyperbaric pressure and oxygen that you're getting in the hyperbaric chamber. How are they that similar?
Right. So it's a great question, actually. But what happens is when you go underwater, you increase the pressure, right? Because you're pushed upon by all the water. So when we're on the surface, we're pushed upon by 14.7 pounds per square inch. That's what's right here, right now. As you go underwater, we increase that pressure. When you increase that pressure, you increase the density of the gas you're breathing. Well, my lungs are going to react to that volume, increase in size, and I'm going to get more molecules every time I take a breath. When you do that, oxygen gets pushed down into the very little particles, and it can go everywhere in your body. And that stems a mechanism called reverse transcriptase, which basically makes those telomeres longer.
And you've been using your hyperbaric chambers and your hyperbaric therapy for mainly TBIs and brain injury patients or all kinds of people?
Right. So I was doing experiments for all kinds of things on the surface, from autism to Crohn's ulcerative colitis down to traumatic brain injury and many other. My whole goal in life here is to take the off-label indications and move them to on-label, right? Because that's advancing science. That's what I want to do. And it's a naturopathic cure. It's a very simple FDA-approved, FDA-cleared cure, so I want to get it out there.
Yeah. While you were down there, we got some more video of you when you were down there. What are some of your best memories? I know we're going to talk a little bit about the education that you did, because you did a lot of Zooms with students as well. But what are you remembering as you're looking back at some of that video? You were 100 days underwater, and you wanted to stay, didn't you?
I did. All things being equal, I love being down there. Yeah. Being down there forces you to take that look inside yourself. And, mostly I was alone. I had visitors, obviously, but mostly I was alone. This point where I came to the surface, I was completely shocked that there were that many people on the surface. I did not believe how many people came up.
I think you were live on half the cable networks when it happened.
It was so wonderful. My all-female medical team, these guys, they rock, right? These are the top of the, wilderness medicine, extreme medicine. This is all those providers are terrific. And, while I was down there, I got to eat, drink, do all the same things that I did on the surface, so that we can actually do the experiment of what happens to the human body when you leave it in an isolated, confined, extreme environment such as that.
And that's key to the testing as well. And I thought that was fascinating that you didn't change much of anything. You still exercised, you still ate what you normally would, and that's how you can get.
Yeah, I mean, so think about it. Everybody's like, well, why did you stay 100 days? I said, because I couldn't afford 200 days. Yeah. And 200 is the length of time to get to Mars, right? Like, we have to maintain muscle when we get to Mars. We have to build bone when we're on the way to Mars. We have to be in an isolated tube on the way to Mars. So there are so many problems we have to fix before we get in that thing and go to Mars, right? I'm trying to start those.
I was going to say, it sounds like you have some future plans. Yeah. We don't want to talk about those just yet. Hang with us. We got Dr. Deepsea with us, some fascinating research here as well. We're going to talk about your book as well. Yep. I know you get you're doing a bunch of great stuff, and you're speaking as well and sharing your research. So don't move here at Studio B. We will be right back right after this with Dr. Deepsea here on Fox 13 Unscripted. And welcome back to Fox 13 Unscripted. We are pleased to have Dr. Deepsea with us. Dry as can be. He, a biomedical researcher, former Navy commander. Take me forever to read off your resume, but probably he's best known for breaking the record of living underwater, right? It was 100 days.
Yeah, 100 days. Yeah.
I remember hearing about, met a good friend of yours on the golf course, and he starts telling me about this. And I was thinking, and I had always wanted to get certified, but I needed that excuse. And then I remembered, because I love the outdoors. You know how much I love the water, and I love being underwater because I'm so fascinated. Somebody told me, we had this discussion. We were talking about aliens the other day, and I remember saying, "They said, do you think aliens exist?" I said, I do believe in aliens because I've seen them underwater. I've seen an octopus the size of my pinky change its shape and change its color. There's so many amazing things. I don't have to tell you this. Underwater, there's this whole explorative world. So anyway, I reached out to Dr. Deep Sea while he was underwater and said, "Hey, can I come down?" And you let me come. I'm surprised.
Said, yes. Come on.
I'm like, so, hey, well, I'll come down and just visit for a little bit. But I really appreciate you allowing me. This was a treat here. That was that's the most unusual welcome I've ever had. You're like, come on in. So for those of you who may not have seen the story, this is pretty much almost exactly 2 years ago.
Yep.
And you were in about 35 feet of water. This is the Jules Undersea Lodge in Key Largo, right?
Yeah.
And so I got to spend about an hour or two with you, and it was really fascinating to see you doing what you're doing. And it was a great experience for me. And hopefully I communicated enough of the good work that you're doing with our viewers, because I know we had a great reaction to it.
We had a good time too.
Yeah. And you had, far beyond this though, you were really busy. I think you had kids that were the next, or just a couple hours after me, you were doing a bunch of Zooms with a lot of students.
Yep.
And you did interviews and Zooms with people all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, we reached 5,579 students and teachers and talked to them about science, technology, engineering, and math. The important part here is that I don't want everybody to just think science is boring. It's beakers and microscopes and lab coats. No,
Right.
it could be fun. We could do cool things.
Right. Showing your hyperbaric center.
Yeah,
there.
the hyperbaric center.
And now, how long have you had that?
So I had that for 7+ years, and then I finally just shut it down maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I shut it down because I took the assistant vice president job at the University of South Florida.
Right. And you've been doing some amazing things with our veterans too, right?
We've been doing great stuff, and that's one of my goals, is to help the veterans. I'm a veteran, so I think we need to give back to these guys that gave to us, and unfortunately, too many of them come back, and they're not quite as well as they were when they went in. So we owe them.
We sure do, and there's still so many that need help, and just getting to them is usually probably the hardest step, because you've already got a lot of the treatment figured out.
Yeah.
And what was fascinating, and I don't think I even knew this when I came to see you, but a lot of this started, and a lot of your drive and passion comes from an accident that you had. You ended up fixing yourself, didn't you?
Do you have a picture of my 47 Chevy, the broken 47 Chevy?
I will put it in here. It was in the other story. But yeah, you got wrecked and you had a serious brain injury.
I did, and a 8mm hemorrhagic stroke, prefrontal cortex, left side, and I was knocked unconscious in my 47 Chevy, and they had to rip the doors open to get me out. And I'm all of a sudden in St. Joe's Hospital. And they're like, "Hey, doc," and I'm like, "Who are you?" They're like, "Oh yeah, you taught my physiology class in med school." And I'm like, "I hope you're a good doctor."
Hope you pay attention.
Seriously. But they put me in the ICU for 2 days, and then I was in the hospital for 5 days after that. So a week in the hospital of misery and being like, now I have a TBI, but I'm a TBI researcher with a TBI. What the hell? It's like so unfair.
So how did you end up figuring out that the hyperbaric chambers were going to really be beneficial to you?
So the thought process was that the hyperbaric chambers increase cerebral blood flow, and that was a good thought going in. But what I found out was that it really wasn't enough. I had to do way more things than that, and basically I stumbled upon the not cure but the fix that I got. And basically that's squeezing every single thing into a short period of time and doing more treatments, not just hyperbaric oxygen, neurofeedback therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, structural energetic therapy, physical therapy. I mean, ice baths, facing east and looking at the sun. Like I did everything that anybody would think of that could say maybe it's going to help you and it's probably not going to hurt you. I did all that at the same time to try and help myself.
Right. And you have any lasting effects, do you think, at this point?
At this point, I don't know if you could tell, but my eyes are still a little off. There's a compensatory reaction in your mind. I had strabismus surgery when I was young, so my eyes would float. Well, when they pulled together, I saw double vision. So right now, if I'm looking at your nose, I see a little bit of the nose here and a little bit of the nose here. So it's just a little off and up. Unfortunately, fortunately for me, from my time, grade school on, it corrected and went back to straight vision. Everything was perfect. When I got hit in the head, it went back.
Turned back the clock.
Compensated by going, I just can't do that behavior anymore.
Right.
I hope I learn it again, but now I have special glasses with prisms. And
Sure.
Yeah.
How about that? So tell me what you're doing with USF now in our vets.
So I'm the Assistant Vice President of Veterans Clinical Research at the University of South Florida, and I, along with, 30 other researchers, are doing this traumatic brain injury study that was funded by the state legislature. Thank you to them for sure, and the governor saying, hey, listen, we believe that this is important. They gave the university $28 million, and they said, go figure out traumatic brain injury in veterans and treat all these guys. And we said, okay. So our N is 420. It's the largest number of people ever done in a hyperbaric medicine experiment in the history of the world.
So you have them going through that now.
Yep, there are 6 chambers, and we're going to now buy 2 more. We'll have 8 chambers at the University of South Florida, and we are treating people. I think we finished number 35, and we have like 100 people in the queue, and lots of good things are happening. So we're rolling.
And you did say regular visits are important. So roughly how many are you experimenting with different numbers?
No, it's basically just one number at this point because you can't change too many things. We are treating them 40 times, 40 times, and over the course of a 2.5 month period.
Okay. So where are you in that now?
I think we finished number 35, and there are 100 people in there so far.
Okay.
But this is going to be 3 more years, 3.5 more years.
Sounds like it.
So
If you had
we
400
need
would you say 420? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite a number.
So you're
right?
done taking people in for the study, right?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, I'll give you a QR code. If you don't have it already, I'll give you a QR code that if you could flash up, people can just hit it and register for the study. We need more. We always need more. And trust me, there are enough of you guys out there that I want you to get help. I want you to get healed. Please come. Please click the link.
And they don't have to do much, right?
As a matter of fact, we pay you if you're a veteran and you have a mild to moderate traumatic brain injury and you sign up for all the things like an MRI, a DTI, urine, saliva, all the stuff that I did underwater. We're doing all that. So EEGs, all that kind of stuff. If you sign up for all that, I can pay you upwards of $3,000 to be part of the study. Now, don't hold me to that number.
Right.
It's whatever it is, it is.
Sure, it's close. But we do know that on many levels, as you've already proven, this does work.
It
This
increases
therapy does
cerebral
work.
blood flow. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're going to hit the younger crowd of the young kids that did one tour and got out during, our time at war.
Well, we know there were so many in the last, 10, 12 years plus that it's really amazing when you think about how many years later still there are so many people that are affected by that.
Yeah, and I mean, we're getting people
on.
that are up to 70 years old that are coming in that have traumatic brain injury from, other wars. I mean, we
didn't treat that well back then.
We did not treat, unfortunately. So we're gonna take that back and we're gonna fix it.
Well, it's great to see the legislature prioritize that, and obviously you guys have in USF, so some great work there. So look them up. It's the USF. I want to get this right, so in case somebody's watching, it's the USF HBOT study. So please recommend any veterans that you know that have TBIs to get in the study. That'd be great. It's good to know. I wasn't sure if you were still accepting some, so that's good news.
Definitely. I got another 300 that I'm willing, 300 something I'm willing to take. So we got 3 more years. Let's keep going.
We will keep going. We'll keep going here indeed. Stay with us here with Dr. Deep Sea. We're going to talk about space.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about your book too. And I know you've been speaking, so we have much more to come with Dr. Deep Sea when we come right back, right here on Fox 13 Unscripted. Don't move. And welcome back to Fox 13 Unscripted. We appreciate you dialing us up on the stream here with Dr. Deep Sea. Thanks again for your time. This is always a treat speaking with you.
Oh, it's great.
I'm curious, and I think I've asked you this before, but there are. I do love my job because we get to, if we can, handle enough of the bad news that's just part of the job. For the most part, we get to meet some really fascinating people. And with you, it's always been for me, I've always been fascinated by your drive. You have this incredible drive and passion. Where do you think that came from?
Oh, unquestionably my mother.
Yeah.
She's like, come here. Who's the guy that told you that life is fair? Because I want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
I was like, what? She's like, life's not fair. Go after it. If you want it, go get it. Don't take no for an answer. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. Well, God love mom. So since your study, you're doing some incredible things. We talked about your HBOT stuff that you're doing with the University of South Florida, your record-breaking research, 100 Days Underwater. You've been speaking. I know you spoke at the World Conference a couple of years ago.
The World Extreme Medicine Conference. I was honored to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you're still doing that and sharing. What are some of the reactions that you're getting now that the story's out that you found a way to turn back the clock a little bit by spending some time underwater?
Yeah, so mostly everybody's going, okay, how and how can I do it? And I'm like, well, you can't come to me because I don't have a hyperbaric center, but here's where you can go. Any one of your local hyperbaric centers can do that. Just make sure that the chamber is correct and proper.
Sure. But in theory, I mean, you, as long as you're spending some time under the, and in your book, Secrets in Depth, of course.
Yeah.
Make sure you get a plug for that. Some fascinating stuff in there. And I didn't even know, I don't even think I knew this. You wrote a children's book too, didn't you?
I wrote a children's book called My Daddy Wears a Different Suit to Work.
Yeah.
So it's a picture of me in a wetsuit that's illustrated. And it's my daughter's version of me coming home from work like a crab. You know, like when daddy's crabby, I have to shove him back in the water. That kind of
That works. That
so
works.
my 13-year-old daughter and I wrote it, and now she's 29. And
How about that?
So yeah,
She got to be proud of dad, though. That's really cool.
Yeah, I got good kids.
Yeah, that's amazing. So in terms of where this all goes, and I know it's really fascinating to hear how you're applying this research.
Yeah.
And I know you've always talked about the next great, well, water will always be a big part of your heart. You're looking to space now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we need to figure out how to get to Mars. The lights and the sirens.
Now, you say that, I'm going to interrupt you. Why? Tell me why. Because I literally was just talking with one of our producers, and she said, oh, you couldn't pay me to go to space. And I thought, I would love to go to space, but there are a lot of people who just don't get the fascination or the interest in space. Why should we go to Mars?
So real short version, there's a longer version called planetary biodiversity, but we are 4.2 billion years old. This solar system, this thing that we're in is 4.2 billion years old. 2.4 billion years ago, Mars used to have an atmosphere and we didn't. They lost their atmosphere and we got one. We ought to go figure out what the heck went on. That's my humble opinion. That's like once you lose the atmosphere, there's nothing that's left.
We're not here.
Nothing lives,
We're
right?
not here.
You see, there's no real life on Mars. I mean, there's minuscule life, but we need to go figure out the why of why that happened, is my opinion.
I think we just changed some minds. That would.
Right?
I would think so.
That to me is the everything, right? And like nobody's putting all this stuff together. But yeah, I mean, our atmosphere just came around, half the time that this thing has been in existence.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So you got to be pleased with the space race. I mean, what we've seen just in the past year is really amazing. What Blue Origin's done, what SpaceX is doing.
I love it, and it's everything. I love Elon, but I love everybody. Anybody that wants to just expand, do more, go. I mean, you know what? We got 77,000 person years in space right now. That's a ton of people that have gone to space, right? Realistically, I want to say 700 some odd people have gone into space, but we've spent a lot of time in space, if you will.
Right.
So a lot of discoveries came out of that, which is the important part for us.
Sure. So what's your goal then on the space frontier? What would you like to be doing? Or what would be your dream ride or your dream mission?
A dream mission. I would love to go up to the International Space Station. I'd like to confirm things like we can, maintain muscle up there. We can maintain bone density. And the long-term thing here, and this is what I learned while I was underwater, when we transit to Mars, I believe we need to transit in a hyperbaric chamber while we're on that rocket going to Mars, so that we can increase osteoblast production to build bone. We can build muscle while we're in there. We can heal. It's prophylactic to ionizing radiation. I mean, there's some really good things that come out of being in hyperbarics, right? It's not the cure-all for everything, but there's some good stuff having to do with getting from here to that 200-day mission to get to Mars.
I can't wait to see that day. Hopefully that happens for you.
Me too.
Dr. Joe Dituri, Dr. Deep Sea, thanks so much for coming by. Always a treat. Great to see you. Thank you for all your work with our veterans too. Doing some great stuff. You can find him online, of course, Dr. Deep Sea. So thanks so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us. We will see you a little bit later on the TV. That was great.
Epic.
That was awesome.
That's good stuff.
So good.